So, Kayla, for you, how has the residency, how has it prepared you for the classroom, you think?
My classroom management has definitely grown. I think having another teacher in here with me, because my classroom management was not so great at the beginning of the year. I struggled finding my teacher voice. And I think like if it had just been me in a classroom by myself, my year would have been terrible. But having that support, that other teacher in there, like kind of helping, like having that stronger classroom management until like I got there, has been like super great. Because now I feel like, okay, this is how I need to start at the beginning of the year. Like I've got my teacher voice, I found it, and like I've got to start off on the right foot at the beginning of the year instead of waiting until like the second 6 weeks to figure it out.
So do you think that the 2 semester, can you definitely tell a difference in yourself personally from the first semester to the second?
I can. I feel like I'm meaner this semester, but like because I've gotten like a little bit firmer with them, and I feel like sometimes I'm meaner, but I think I kind of have to be, especially with all the end of the year shenanigans.
Emily, can you speak to her growth from the first semester throughout the second?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, she had worked at like a private Christian school teaching, pre-K3, pre-K4, and I think coming into the older ones teaching, 5th and 6th grade, I think she was kind of a little intimidated by them because she'd never had such big kids, but she fell in love with them, and as she grew, I think they grew to see her as more of a teacher, more as a on level, in which I started out day one, like we are both teachers in this classroom, and we were on equal playing field. So I think that helped a lot. But she has grown so much, and that was one of our big goals from our first coaching conversation, was finding her teacher voice, because she's got such a little voice. I'm like, you got to find it. They've got to know that you mean business. So. Mm-hmm. But yeah, she's grown tremendously, and she's going to do great next year.
That's so awesome. What suggestions do you have for future students that are going to be coming into the residency?
I don't know. I think, like, don't be so nervous. Like, it's going to be fun. You're going to get through this. Make sure you balance things, not just like school and your residency, but balance your personal life. It's okay to have a personal life. You can't just put school and your residency first, because I kind of did that at the beginning, and then I got a little overwhelmed. So I realized it's okay to have a personal life, and having a personal life will make you a better teacher.
Yes, perfect. What do you think are maybe some top takeaways that you learned from Miss Ogden?
Definitely classroom management. She has a much higher control level. Like she's more high control, and I'm started out kind of like a low control, and now I'm a happy medium. And so and so learning that, and then different strategies and stuff, not just with classroom management, but even instructional. I learned things that I never knew, and I was like, oh wow, so that's why they're doing this way.
So Emily, you spoke sort of to your experience from student teaching. Do you have anything else to add about the residency? And
I mean, the year-long residency, that's definitely the way to go. I think back to, I did my student teaching, I started in January and went until, the very beginning of May. So, all the rules and procedures were already set. I never got to see that done. And so I had no idea. I just thought, these children were pre-programmed. I had no idea that you have to train them that way, and you have to set your expectations. I had no idea. So the year-long residency, and she's learned so much about curriculum and how to teach these tough curriculums, and what to do, that you actually have to do the math. You have to set your goals. You have to know what the learning goal is for every lesson. I never learned all of that. Everything was just kind of pre-done, and mm-hmm. I was just there playing teacher.
So talk about your classroom before having a resident and after having a resident, and how it's impacted your teaching.
I feel like this year has probably been my best year. Just having Kayla, because first of all, you've got 2 teachers in the classroom. You're able to do so much more. We did a lot of parallel teaching, where we would split the class in half, and she would teach half the room, I would teach half the room, and so you've got more of that small group setting. We also did lots of station teaching. We did some centers. There's so much more you can do, and she's learning while, I feel like my kids are learning more. My students they're growing by leaps and bounds because we're able to do more of a small group setting, because a lot of kids need that. Whole group doesn't work for all kids.
And what do you think you've learned through this residency process as a mentor?
I've learned that a lot of the stuff I do, I don't explain why I'm doing it. And so I had to learn how to do that, to tell her, okay, I'm doing this because I need to think about this, and I had to tell her what my thought process was, and that was kind of a tough thing for me. And then also she had always been great at taking any kind of criticism. She wanted feedback. She wanted to know the good, the bad, the ugly. And sometimes that was hard for me because I feel like I'm being cruel. But it wasn't. We kind of, once she told me, no, tell me. I want to know. I want to be better. I want to know what I can do. That made it a lot easier for me. And so, then we would start talking about it, and I would tell her things that she did wrong or things that she could improve on. And she just took it and ran with it. She was great about that. It was never her crying because I told her she did something wrong. It was never any of that. It was, she would get overwhelmed sometimes, but that's totally understandable. Teaching is a lot. People don't understand the mental struggle that you go through every day with kids. People don't understand that. And she got to see it full force this year. So I would have to console her sometimes on stuff like that, but never because I gave her some criticism. She was really great about that.
Kayla, what advice do you have for residents in how to take that feedback and inform their practice?
I think my biggest problem is I'm harder on myself than she was. And so a lot of times you're okay, no, you did fine. Here's what you can fix. It's going to be okay. But take that criticism and actually apply it. Don't just say, okay, what did I do wrong? But how can I do better? What are some strategies that I can implement to improve on this? Instead of just okay, well, I did this wrong. Okay, cool. But actually take it and ask for strategies so that you can use that criticism to improve your teaching.
Emily, how do you think your students were affected by this? Did you see more growth, or how did they respond?
Overall, I think that test scores are going to prove it that this is an awesome program. I have no doubt. I feel like I just feel like because you have two teachers in the classroom, two full teachers in the classroom, that there's no way students can't grow. It's not like she ever got in the way. She came here ready to work, ready to teach kids every day, and I feel like it's gonna show with our test scores.
So, what advice do you have for future mentors?
Do it, get involved. It's one of the best things. People always say stuff about the paperwork. The paperwork was nothing. It was nothing compared to the growth I've seen in my kids, the growth I've seen in her, and I just know that with curriculum, with classroom management, with all of that, she's going to be way ahead of where I was when I first started. It's basically her first year is under her belt as a first year teacher. It's she had that this year and next year, and she's going to know exactly what to do. And also, now she's got somebody that she can call. She can call me anytime. We've become friends, so it's a good thing.
Love it. And lastly, I want to give you an opportunity to tell us, what could we do to make this residency better for both of you?
I feel like ULM, y'all have been really easy to work with. I feel like anything we've come to y'all with, y'all have tried to remedy. And I know that, we've talked about a couple different things trying to move classes back so it's not during school time and stuff like that. And y'all are remedying that, but I know it doesn't happen overnight. With the university, it's just a lot harder. So, I know, it's like turning a ship. I think that's what y'all said. You can't just turn it real quick. So, I don't really have anything.
All of our, things that we had, all our criticisms, all our complaints, all our whining and griping, y'all have kind of listened, and then I've seen that y'all are making those changes, and I know it's a gradual process, and as we go through this, one of my biggest concerns was not knowing ahead of time, like knowing expectations. And that's something that I know that you guys are working on, because we're all learning as we go.
Brand new program.
And so now, for upcoming residents, they're going to know ahead of the game what's expected, what's going to happen, and I think that's going to be awesome. And I think the program's going to be really